way too hot, humid, and noisy here. But I never did like the sea. I'd like to return now. I'm putting an end to this. Ever since we arrived, everyone's been a little too excited. We don't have time to mess around.
Alright, a fire limited unit. Let's hope she's not a carrot clone. Okay, so here we have Summertime Iseria. We're going to go over her stats, take a look at her skills, review the artifact. Before we get into it though, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, please see the video description below for a link to my Discord. So here are the stats for Summertime Iseria. She has Capricorn star sign. She's a Fire Ranger. So she's going to have the same stats as Elfelt and Flan. Her base speed is slower than some Rangers. So Pavel, he's like a Virgo. He has super high base speed. I think Firelytica also has that same base speed. It's like 124 or something like that. I think Cerise is like 122. So Cerise is Aquarius, so a different, combination. She has, for a Ranger, decent health and defense. I think it's above average. She loses a bit on speed, but I think gains in those areas. Her attack is okay. She gets that bonus effectiveness there. And then her imprint is attack percentage for the team or effectiveness percentage for the team. So I think we're going to see that we'll probably end up building her similar to Carrot. So we get to ignore crit chance and crit damage. So we're going to get to pour everything into HP, defense, attack, and speed, and effectiveness if you want some of that. So her not having any crit chance, her base stats is not a big deal. So let's go over her skills. Skill 2, Suppression Attempt. There's a lot going on with this skill. So the first thing is that she gets her first soul burn for free. So when you soul burn Summertime Iseria for the first time, it does not cost any souls. Additionally, the caster cannot trigger a critical hit, so that's just like Senya, but her attack is increased by 20%, and then that goes to 30% when you Mola it. Additionally, after an ally except for the caster uses an attack that targets all enemies, so an AoE ability activates Suppress, and this can only be done once every 3 turns. Suppress gives you a CR boost of 15% for your whole team, and plants a bomb on 2 random enemies for 2 turns. So this is a pretty loaded passive, right? There's lots of stuff going on. On this passive alone, she looks incredibly strong. So anybody that gets a free soul burn, to me that indicates that that's going to be an aggressive hero, because you get a lot more value for that if you close out the game, before you would have accrued, skills to soul burn even more, right? So you're getting, it's like Book, basically, for her. And Book is in general an aggressive artifact that you use. Additionally, her suppress ability is going to power up any AoE opener that you have. So that could be Basar, that could be General Purgus, that could be like literally almost anything, right? Cerise, etc. You're getting that CR boost, which is really, really strong. So I'm interested to see, how this plays into her other skills and potential team compositions. But overall, this looks like a very strong kit out the gate. Are You the Culprit is skill 1. This is a single target attack with a 60% chance to dispel 2 buffs, and looks like you can Mola that for a 75% chance, and you can soul burn it to grant an extra turn. So soul burning to grant an extra turn, always pretty crazy, and this only consumes 20 souls. It's a single little flame there. She gets the first one for free, which is always nice, and buff strip. That's good. To dispel 2 debuffs is pretty solid, as a skill 1 ability. The fact that you get an extra turn means that when you open, with your team, you presumably will have a, AoE opener like G-Purg or Basar. They'll go, it'll trigger your suppression, and then she'll take her turn, she'll soul burn, and that's going to decrease the cooldown on suppression, because remember that happens once every 3 turns, and if you soul burn this, that takes 2 turns right there. With your extra turn, then you'll skill 3, and then she'll, loop back around, do 1 more skill 1, and then have suppression up again. So, a very strong opener for sure. This dispel could be relevant later in the fight as well to get rid of, annoying buffs like revive and defense buff, stuff like that. So, pretty strong kit so far. Skill 3 is Sword of Flowers. This is an AoE attack, and it puts decreased attack on the enemy for 2 turns, and then gives Summertime Iseria a speed buff for 2 turns. At the end of the turn, detonates bombs inflicted on the enemy. So detonate says, inflicts damage by activating designated debuffs, in this case bombs, inflicted on the enemy. Damage is proportional to the number of turns and the number of debuffs. Bomb damage is unaffected by the number of turns. That's a little confusing with the wording because they explicitly say damage is proportional to the number of turns, and then in the next sentence they say bomb damage is unaffected by the number of turns. I don't really know how to interpret that. I think maybe that first or the middle sentence is referring to detonate in general, such as burns, and then maybe bomb damage is different than burns. I think we're going to need either clarification or just in-game testing to figure out what's going on with that. I know on the live stream today they mentioned that they're changing the way bombs work, and I don't think we know exactly how they're changing it yet. I heard something about effect resistance check being removed, for the stun portion of it or something along those lines. Either way, I don't think we know entirely how that mechanic is going to work yet. So for this skill 3 though, there's I think a lot good in here for her kit. Increased speed is really nice because you're going to help loop back around and get the cooldown on your suppress reset, so that's really important. And then it's going to get you back around again for another skill 3, which is nice. So, those are all good things. The decreased attack, I think, is kind of a little random. If you're putting her in a really aggressive team, do you really care about putting decreased attack on the enemy? I guess it makes it harder for them to kill you, so it's obviously a nice debuff. And the more debuffs, the better. It makes it harder for cleansers to get rid of the ones that really matter, like defense break. But yeah, I'm not sure how relevant that's going to be for like uber aggro teams, right? That are just trying to kill you before you even get a turn. And maybe more just aggressive type teams that are just trying to kill you in the first couple turns, kind of like a G-Purg cleave, then perhaps the decreased attack is going to make it harder for them to recover. We see with Iseria, like decreased attack can be pretty crippling. So this could be a good way to prevent damage-heavy teams from just, wiping you back out right away. So I think it'll definitely have value. It's just kind of interesting to think about. Obviously, like, defense break would have made her way more aggressive and, like, obnoxious, but that would have been probably OP. Summertime Iseria's artifact is Star of the Deep Sea. So this is a 5-star limited artifact, obviously. And it says when a non-critical hit is made after using a basic skill, has a 50% chance at baseline and then a 100% chance when you max it out to place a bomb on the target for 2 turns. And this only happens with single attacks. It is not activated by a counterattack, a dual attack, or an extra attack. So this is obviously going to be very strong on Summertime Iseria, since her skill 1 is, you can Soulburn it to give her an extra turn, so you can do this multiple times if you bring books for even more bombs. Just adding more bombs to her kit is going to be really nice because she'll detonate on skill 3, which you'll typically be doing immediately after because of the Soulburn. So that's all really good. The fact that it only activates on a non-crit means that I think she's pretty much the only one who could use this. You could theoretically put it on Roaming Warrior Leo, but with his kit right now, I think he crits, right, usually, so you'd have to build him non-crit. I don't know, that sounds bad. He is getting a complete rework, though, so it's possible that they rework his kit in some way to make this artifact viable for him. I think this will probably be a contender for best in slot for her. Guiding Light is, of course, broken and will always be really good, so I think that's also going to be an option on her. So it'll probably be one of those two. I'm interested, to see what you guys think of the hero. I think, personally, she's a must-pull. I think, in general, limited units are must-pull. This is a limited unit that looks pretty strong from the get-go. I think she'll slot really well into aggressive teams, and potentially could be built, for slower bruisery teams as well, kind of like a carrot. So I think that'll be it for now. Let me know your thoughts below. Otherwise, later.